Sometimes you gotta yap for way too long about 7 books. 7 books. I apologize in advance. Hello, hi, we're at the desk because it's tier list time. It is me recording, December 1st. And this is because, one, it is back to Simon Team free reads every single day up until Christmas, and I read 10% and make a whole entire video out of it. That's way too long, season. Yes, I am doing it again. And part of that is that I did easy videos. So I thought, hey, why don't I talk about the ones that I did read from last year? That continued. Every single one that I said I was going to continue, I did continue. All the ones I put as like soft DNF, maybe I'll pick up again. I just full DNF those. To be honest, I was about 2 months ago looking through all of them, and I went, I really like even the Jason Reynolds. I was like, I don't think I'll like any of these. These don't seem like my vibe. So that's that. That's I think the prerequisite we have to talk about here. And me and talking about books. This isn't gonna take long because there's only 7, right? Yeah, I can do math. There's only 7. Also, if during any of this you see the light of 1,000 suns, then know something I read, and it's so bright. Anyways, I will start recording and we will tier list these bitches. So, what is happening here? What is happening here? As you can see, top tier. We have I'll Scream from the Rooftops, which is code for I rated it 5 stars. I will never shut up about it. Please go read it. Good were books that I thought were good, but I don't have like any strong like gravitas towards or anything like that. Meh were just books that were meh. Mad and disappointed, but disappointed. I literally made that tier just for one book. We'll talk about it when we get to it. And then Volunteers, I was wrong. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes I'm wrong about my taste. Honestly, the fact that only one of these is there, so 1 out of 7. I don't know how to do math, but I'm okay. But I am pretty sure that's like maybe 15%, so that's not that bad. That's not that bad. That's me doing very fast math of me being like 1/3 is 33%, so therefore 1/6 would be half of that, so a little bit less maybe, I don't know. Anyways, we are here to talk about these books. I do have them in order of when I finish them. This is going to be chronological order of when I finish them, not when they popped up in that video in which I started them. The first one, Conditions of a Heart, which I read technically January 1st. I had literally like 50 pages once it hit midnight, so technically I finished January 2nd. I vividly remember, I think this is like the 3rd book out of all of them I did, and I remember going to my sister and be like, I'm so upset because I want to read the rest of this book. I don't have time because I'm doing this whole video, and so I don't have time until next year. And so as soon as it became the next year and I had the time, I read it. And let me tell you, I will never shut up about this book. I love this book so much. In the process of me downloading the book covers for this, I went to see if the author has come out with any other books since then, because this was 2024 release, I think. I'm pretty sure a good chunk of these are. So I went to check, and no, I think there's like 1 book before this in 2022, but it doesn't seem like my speed. And so I'll just patiently be waiting in case the author decides to come out with anything else. I loved it. What is it about? It's about a disabled 17-year-old. I think she's like in her senior year of high school. There's a fight that breaks out at a school game, I think, or maybe it's like school announcements type thing where that you have to all go into the gymnasium before the start of school for them to tell you things. I don't know. I don't remember. She's in like on all like the prom queen, on like student council, all that type of stuff, right? But she's accepted to the school as like a side benefit because her sister is really good at sports. So in order to get her sister to go to this high class school, private school, that's the word I'm trying to think of, God. In order to get her sister to go to this private school, they also accepted her, right? And so she's in all these things because she knows that once she graduates from high school, the chances of her being able to do much more is limited. And so she's big about all this stuff, and then she breaks up this fight, and she is blamed for parts of the fight, and so kicked out of all these programs. She can't do any of these programs anymore because she's suspended, right? And so it's a lot of her with all this free time suddenly, coming to terms with her disability, what that means for her future. Also the fact that in order to try to get as much out of her body as possible before it gets worse, in her younger years, she's actually actively ruining her own body. And so she took better care of her body. She could do more type thing. But also dealing with the fact that she has feelings for her ex-boyfriend, who she left because he deserves to be with somebody able-bodied. But also there's this whole thing where in the very first chapter, I think, maybe second or third, but in the very beginning, COVID was a thing in this universe, and they went, I think freshman year of high school was during COVID for them. And so for them, it's like a lot of people be like, I can't imagine being like this every day, including her ex-boyfriend, and her realizing none of them could understand what it's like for her, and all this stuff. And so it's slowly her coming to terms with this part of her identity and explaining it to people around her and herself, essentially. And it's really good, and it did make me cry, and I did get heated at one point, and I love it. 5 stars. Will I talk this much about every single book? Maybe. Good thing there's only 7. Am I right? Anyways, Where the Dark Stands Still. Hey, look, I was reading from the rooftops. When I was making the list of chronological order, so like I wrote down the date that I finished them, and then I was putting them in order, and I went, wait a second, two 5 stars in a row. This one I read beginning of February. It is Polish folklore turned into a dark fantasy romance kind of thing. It's got like a house that I don't know. I need more fantasy books with this because this is one of my favorite part of Core Silver Flames, where the house has like a personality of its own type thing. And I think that's why I like a lot of haunted house books, right? Because it's kind of like that, right? So there's so much excited about this book. I would also like to know, it is a little fruity. The male main character is confirmed bisexual, have been with a man before all this, because he's Fae, and so like 400 years old or something. And the author since then has come out with a sapphic Polish, I think Black Swan or something like that, retelling. And yes, I did immediately apply for the arc. Yes, I did get it. No, I still have not read it. That's like in the next few days, because hear me out, that's like the 7th one of this year's Simon Team for year reads. So I gotta like actually read that one. Anyways, so what is this about? It's Polish folklore. She is going into the woods to look for, I believe, a plant to make a wish, right? But when she goes to take the plant to do this, she learns she is stealing it from this Fae monster, and so he, as punishment, makes her work. It's kind of Beauty and the Beast-esque in this way. One thing I would like about it is that in none of the marketing or none of the initial, I don't know if it says on the synopsis now, but when I first started to read it, it was not on the synopsis that it's Beauty and the Beast retelling. I'm like 98% sure. So she has to basically take care of the house while he is out all day. His whole thing is protecting the woods from other Fae creatures. So if there's like travelers or whatnot transporting goods, he protects them but unseen, right, and attacks any other monsters in the woods that try to kill anyone. And slowly over time they fall in love. There's a whole family aspect, but there's also more to the eye. And then I cried, and then I think it was an epilogue happened, and then I cried some more. And in my headcanon, a character who died came back to life, and people are happily together, and the found and they are a family, and they're together forever. The end. It was really good. And it's just got that kind of gothic feel, but it's like deep witchy woods type thing going on. I don't know if that's just like a Polish thing, but it was great. I loved it. Moving on. Tender Beast goes in good. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This one follows a family, particularly a black family who is rich. Their mother is like the head of the family. She opened up a school for disenfranchised students, but all her own kids go there as well, type thing. And recently the mother has died suspiciously, and in her will she left a bunch of stuff to her kids, but the main character is kind of suspicious because her mother, there's like 7 siblings. I don't actually know if that's the real number, but there's a lot of siblings, and she's suspicious because her mother talked adamantly and was teaching her to take her place when she died, and then all she got was a sticky note of protect your brother, who is suspected of killing his dead girlfriend, that because of money, they were able to get him off, right? But like there's still some question in the family if he did it or not, right? And so it's a lot of her coming to terms with her identity in general. I think that's a thing I like. I just realized this. But also trying to figure out if her brother actually killed this guy, but also there's other murders happening now, and so she's got there's like another murder of another kid on campus, and she finds the body by finding her brother, this brother, standing over the body saying he's trying to do CPR, and so she helps him cover up the fact that he was even there in the first place, because even if he was doing CPR, they're immediately going to assume that it was him because he's already assumed of doing another murder, right? And he's a black boy. Like, he's like 14, 15. And then as more time passes, family secrets come out as more murders are happening, and they have to try to find and stop the actual killer, if that's her brother. The ending was really interesting. It was one of those things where it was like, is it supernatural? Or is the person doing this actually just crazy? And let me tell you, when I do like the fact that instead of leaving it ambiguous, which is a thing that is in most of those type books that I've read, it actually tells you which one it is at the very, very end, and then I went, whoop, which is why the 0.5. It was fine. I recommend if it's your type of thing. Water break. It smells soup, and it smells so good. Oh my god. Door in the Dark. This is the one that goes in this category. Did I mention I read Tender Beast in early March? This one I read mid-March. Okay. Door in the Dark. Let me explain why. Which is essentially the whole book. I was bored. It was very mad. I rated it 3 stars. But the ending set up the sequel in such a way that I was interested enough to pick up the sequel, to the point where, like, 5 days later, if that, I did pick up the sequel, because this is one of those books where if I don't pick up the sequel immediately, I just never will. It will forever be on my list, so I need to do that as soon as possible. But all the aspects that I liked, that I was setting up in the first one at the end, it was one of those where you pick up the sequel and it's like, actually, never mind, this is what it's actually about. And it was, more stuff I'm not a big fan of. So I DNF'd the sequel at like 12%. I didn't check that. I'm pretty sure that's right. Which is why it's but disappointed. Because that. What is it about? It's about this girl who is like, it's like a fancy magic school, right? She's lower class. There's a few of them at her school, right? It's about to become like spring break, technically. The night before, she goes to this party with her friend, where somebody does magic wrong, and it causes a lot of property damage, but also people to be injured, right? By this rich guy. And she, it's hinted at throughout the book that rich guy's father had something to do with her father's death, right? And she witnessed it, but nobody knew that she witnessed it. So that's a whole thing. And so she kind of wants revenge on the family. But there's also this whole thing where nobody, like when you graduate, you're supposed to like work for a family, if you're not already a large part of your own family, right? High society family. And none of the other families will hire her because, despite the fact that she is very proficient in magic, and very intelligent, because they just don't like her personality. She's not very personable and all this stuff. So on the day to go, on spring break, her and the other little classmates go to take the portal on the Waxway, which is why it's called the Waxway series, to the lower cities and whatnot. And Mr. Guy, who caused that accident right the night before, and his best friend also have to take the Waxway because for punishment they can't ride their dragons or something like that. Dragons are also like a big important thing, which is why another reason why I was disappointed, because like I think book 3 the cover is like a dead dragon on the skyline, and I was like, it's cool, that's interesting. But no. Anyways, so instead of taking dragon chariots home, they gotta take the poor people Waxways. As like one of the poor people Waxways people is a sports scholarship kid, and I think it's one of his cousins was injured in the accident, so he's like really pissed off. They start a fight in the Waxways, it causes an accident, and they're teleported in the middle of the woods, very far from where they're supposed to be, and it's them trying to get back to civilization in the middle of the woods while they're running out of magic. But also when they teleported, one of them died. The magic went wrong in the second that it happened because they were like fighting, and some of that was like fighting with fists, some of that was fighting with magic, and the spell hit the rich guy who caused the accident's friend, right? So another rich guy, and he's dead now, dead, deceased, gone, and like a ghostly version of him comes back and is like hunting them down one by one as they slowly try to make their way to civilization. And then near the end, there's a revelation about what really happened, how the Waxways really went wrong and all this stuff. That part was the really interesting part. The rest of it was like me just sitting there being like bored. Okay, let me be honest. So most of it was meh, and then that plot twist and the ending and what it set up was very interesting, and then it didn't do any of that shit for the sequel, and so I went DNF for the sequel, and that's why that category exists. Okay, I'm gonna talk much because the next one after Water Break 2.0 I read in early June, and it is also I Will Scream on the Rooftops. The Dagger and the Flame. Dude, I don't know what's happening with the sequel, because Goodreads says the sequel doesn't come out until I think tomorrow. Simon Teen also says the sequel doesn't come out until this month, but I was already able to borrow the sequel from Libby. I didn't have time to read it, so I returned it, and it's on my 20 or 26 and 2026. Like, it's on that list. That I think comes out next week, if I remember my upload schedule properly. So that's how much I like this one. I plan to pick up the sequel on The Rebel and the Rose. I'm very excited. This one is about, see, I just talked about this for that video. Her mother was basically the drug chemist. Yeah. Think Walter White. I say as I've only watched one episode of Breaking Bad. She was the chemist of this drug that two like mafia-esque groups use. There's the thieves, and then there's the slayers, or the daggers. I think they're the daggers and they're the thieves. Or the cloaks. The cloaks like weave this magical drug into their clothing and then wear it and use it to go into the shadows and steal things, right? The daggers drink it, where it slowly over time poisons your body and kills you, to kill other people for the right price, right? And when this book starts, the daggers have killed her mother. And her mother warned her that if this ever happens, to go join the cloaks, the thieves. So she runs off, she does that with her three-legged dog. I think the dog's three-legged. I love this dog so much. The whole time I was reading, I was so worried about this goddamn dog. The dog is fine. The dog is alive by the end of the book. Oh my god. I was so happy about that. Anyways, she makes her way to the thieves, and joins their crew. The whole time she is running through the city doing this, she feels like she's being watched, and afterwards we get the other point of view, which is the male love interest, who is like a son to the head of the daggers, who is also a dagger himself, who is ordered to watch her, and possibly if he like, because if thieves and daggers like fight, it will cause like this whole issue, right? So there's like rules against that, but if she some way steps out of thieves, he's allowed to kill her type things going on. So he's like watching her, and as he's watching her, he's like, but why should I be killing this like 16-year-old girl? This makes no sense. I'm very confused. But his father figure telling him to do it, all this stuff. Anyways, over time, they start talking. She realizes who he is, and he agrees more and more with her points about certain things, and then they fall in love. There's also this thing where there's like a shadow creature attacking the people in the city, that seems to be like made out of the magic that the magic drug is also made out of. So that's like a whole thing. And there's stuff about how her mother was learning like secret or understanding secret other magics with the magic drug, and so the creature may be a creature of her mother's, and that's why her mother can't control anymore because she's dead. And so she's trying to figure that whole situation out, while also trying to figure out why her mother was killed in the first place. And then when all that section, those revelations happen, ooh, it's so hard. Anyways, there's a big battle at the end, and I remember like being a part of it, and I loved it. 5 stars. It was very Romeo and Juliet in aspects, and I think this is the only time I've enjoyed a Romeo and Juliet retelling. I mean, there was like a queer one I read 3 years ago that I was like mad about, but this one was like great. I loved it. Yeah, and you know, great times. Curious Tides was meh. 3 stars. I say that the sequel of this one also is on my 26 and 26. And I am excited. One, audiobook narrator, spectacular job. This one is Dark Academia, which is why I read it end of October. Yeah, that's how months work, end of October. This one is about this girl was there was in the cave system. So there's like a magic school in which your magic depends on the moon cycle you were born during too, right? It depends what magic, and she has healing magic initially. And then she's following her best friend, childhood best friend, who also goes to the magic school that's like on the coast. And there's this cave on the coast that is really dangerous because the tide comes in and can sweep you away type thing. And her best friend is being a little suspicious, a little weird, so she follows her to this cave, in which she's with a bunch of people doing a very interesting ritual. And then all the others die except for her. She's the only one who wakes up that night from this. And so she is back to school after summer break, I assume. It's giving very Maine vibes, and that may partially be because she's originally from like a lighthouse, and so that's like Maine and lighthouses are thing, so it's giving me very Maine vibes, and I was loving that. And so what's happening is she's back at school and she wants to figure out what actually happened that night. Because all the other bodies, I think most of the bodies, including her best friend, were pulled out into sea. And so she is working with Baz, kind of, who is her best friend's older brother, who's always had a thing with her. Listen, her and the best friend have very similar names, and I can't. One of them's Emery. I don't know which one it is. Anyways. So, she is like trying to figure out what her best friend was up to, what this group she was a part of was, and part of that is connected to the guy who found her after that night on the beach, right? And then culty things happen. And culty things is connected to that guy, who is the other love interest other than Baz. I love Baz. Baz is great. Baz is in my pocket. I love Baz, okay? He has a best friend who, also that's like a whole thing where Baz has Eclipse magic, and Eclipse magic is freaky and weird, and nobody understands really how it works, and you can be like anything. You can control time in specific. His best friend can control nightmares, but eventually, every eclipse will just implode in so much magic. And apparently over break that happened to his best friend slash roommate, and so then he's sent away to a secret government organization jail-like thing where his father also was out for doing a similar thing where he killed multiple people in doing it, which also killed the father of Culty Guy's father. Yeah, that guy's father. So that's how they're interconnected in that explosion. And so he's all like dealing with the fact that his best friend, he'll probably never see him again. He's locked away, and that someday he will implode himself. But also main character girl, since she came back from the tides, now also has Eclipse magic. And that's not normal. So he's trying to also teach her how to use her Eclipse magic. And then part of that is that love interest guy, whose name I'm pretty sure was Kieran, who is part of the cult, is part of a cult, so he's manipulating her. This is the part I have problems with. He's clearly manipulating her. Like, within the first third, she gets blatant evidence of him manipulating and using her for his benefit, and then has the gall to act surprised and upset when he betrays and uses her at the end of the book. I was so mad. She kept on choosing him over and over again when Baz was right there. I actually cared about her. Yeah, my chat on stream was really great when I was reading this because I was explaining the benefits and downsides of each love interest, and all of us were like, girl, no, I get. She's like the rich blonde white guy who is tall and handsome and has all these friends and has all this power and connections, but just go with the goth guy who's depressed all the time. He's right there. He already likes you. She, when more bodies of the other members who died on that night start showing up alive and then suddenly dying right in front of her. Also essentially believe the reason why she survived is because her healing magic healed her during the night to the point where she technically died and came back to life, right? So as these bodies are coming back alive and then dying from nowhere's known, in ways that are somewhat connected to their magic, she's trying to figure out what happened to her best friend even more before it happens to her, right? And also with the belief that there's a possibility she's alive somewhere, and they gotta go get her, so her and Baz are trying to do that, while also culty things that I hate so much. Anyways, you may be like, but why the hell would you read a sequel if you hate the culty stuff? Did I mention how Baz's best friend, I don't think I'm sorry to talk about how Baz's best friend, my headcanon is that they should be together. That's what I'm trying to say, because he was already confirmed with his past relationship with Culty Guy's best friend, who died recently, I think. So he's been in a relationship with another guy before, and the way he treats Baz, but also whenever Baz is clearly in love with main character girl, and main character girl is like, oh, I didn't even know Baz liked me. Whenever that happens, I'm just like, together, please. Anyways, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, maybe like, the girl, why the hell would you want to continue the series if you really hate this one aspect of this book? Hear me out. I don't think the culty stuff is going to be in the next one much, at least, if it is at all. Two, look at the synopsis. Time travel is a thing. Baz and his best friend time travel, because Baz's whole thing is time. He can control time. So they time travel, to save homegirl, and they end up, fucking up somehow, and so it's her whole area of the book I'm probably gonna be, like, mad about, but his whole section is gonna be cool time travel stuff with a guy I already know is queer, and I suspect is in love with him. I am going to love that. All the three of those things are so me. I love time travel, weird time travel stuff. And then you've got that, but there's also, like, weird conspiracy stuff about the, system of eclipses and how actually they're wrong about their magic and they've been using them all along and all this stuff, and so it's just, but also there's this whole aspect where there is a like mythologies children's book type thing that may actually be real all along, and so there's also that aspect that also has to do with that, and I am into all of that aspect, so that is why I will continue the series even though the books are so long. I think I'm just into the audiobooks. The audiobook narrators are good, and So while it was meh, it was actually me hating some parts and really loving other parts, so it evens out to meh. But I'm excited for the sequel. I don't know how I'm filming for half an hour about 7 books. This is, I fear for when I have to do this for 25 books. Oh god, somebody stop me. Anyways, you can guess where this one's gonna go. You may be like, girl, what? When I read Prince of Fortune, you may be like, when did you do that? That was, November 30th, technically this morning. Or during that, because I listened for 2 seconds more this morning, and then I DNF'd. I got to 52%. It's gonna be in a video, and I'm gonna talk for like 15 minutes about it in a video that comes out in February, so I'm not gonna go in depth about it. It follows Edmund and Aubrey. You can tell that this is the one where I know the main characters' names, because it's so recent. Edmund, is the Prince of Fortune. Every, like, a couple generations, there is one, who has all this magic, specifically with weather and plants, which, like, makes sense. It makes sense. That's why that's really important. But there's also seers, Aubrey's one of them, that have all seen that he will be the king that will, like, make everything better, fix everything, all this stuff. He'll be a great king someday. But he's, like, currently, like, 17, he's 17, very anxious, dealing with people always in his business because he's a prince, being gay, and instantly, like, within 5 seconds being in love with Aubrey, and, also the fact that a war is brewing, and, so he's going to have to fight in this war, and it's, like, suspected that he'll probably survive because he's foreseen to be the great king and all this stuff. But there's him trying to deal with a bunch of political stuff, and inside secrets, and false information from the past, and all this stuff, but also dealing with the fact that he likes another boy, and society really likes to make their opinions known about that, and really want to be up in his business about who he may someday marry. I say, as I'm talking about a 17-year-old boy. Here's the issue. You may be like, that sounds like kind of your thing, though, especially since I really love Divine Rivals. And I say, yes, but, it is like a collaboration, that's not how you pronounce words, but we're gonna ignore it, of a bunch of YA fantasies that I've read before. Like, it just reminds me of so many things I've read before. So the whole reading experience was meh. The audiobook was fine, it was just so slow. I don't understand why it was so slow. I don't understand. But he did a fine enough job. And then I could definitely, you know, when sometimes when you're listening to audiobooks, most of the time I can't tell when, like, they've paused a recording or cut something out and re-recorded a section. Like, normally I can't tell, but this one I could clearly tell. It was so obvious. I was sitting there playing video games, I had to be like, oh, it completely changed quality. Okay. So yeah, that's the thing. But I'm not knocking the book for that. Basically it was already so basic. And then I stopped at 52% last night to go to bed with a plan to wake up this morning, first thing this morning, finish it so that I could film this ahead of schedule, right? And I listened for 2 seconds to hear, and I quote, 1 year later, and I didn't know. No. And I DNF'd. I was already on the verge of DNFing, and then that happened, and I was just like, I don't want to have to deal with that shit. Okay, thank you very much. So DNF, it would have been a 3-star if I read it, because I haven't looked up what happens, because there's probably nowhere online, because it has less than 1,000 ratings on Goodreads, but it's very basic YA fantasy, but queer, and I'm 26 and girl doesn't have time for that, okay? Let's be honest. So DNF. Moving on with my life, though, with the caveat that if the author comes out with anything else, because that's the thing, it was also a debut. If the author comes out with anything else, I would look into it, okay? Anyways, that's everything. We love the top row. We love the top row. I am gonna go. Goodbye. Thank you for coming to this video. This is a video that is too long. Probably with what I cut out, it's gonna be around 25 to 30 minutes. I don't know who did this to me, why. I was just talking about 7 books. Anyways, this is my thoughts and opinions about the ones I finished. There is going to be a December free reads of this year. When do I have that written down? When do I? That is coming out the Saturday after Christmas. So if you're interested, into that, there in the up above the cards, I will have the one from last year in case you want to see all my beginning thoughts about all 25 of those books last year, slash all the thoughts of the ones that I've read before. So that's great. You may be wondering, have you read your 10% today? No. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? I think I'm supposed to tell you to subscribe. I think that's the thing I'm supposed to do. So subscribe. I don't know what to say to do if you've gotten this far, so I'm just not even gonna bother. I'm not even gonna bother. I never think of trying to figure one out before I film, so not gonna bother. That is the thoughts and opinions on a bunch of books, 7 books. If I manage to finish my 25 in 2025, I'll be doing the same thing the day before Christmas for the Wednesday video on all those. So stay tuned for that possibility. Videos every Wednesday / Saturday. Normally what happens is Wednesdays are gaming, Saturdays are book videos. But because it's end of year and there's so many end of year videos, there's literally only gonna be one game video which is actually the next one, hilariously, this month. But just, you know, that's normally a thing. That's normally how it works. Thank you for coming to this video. The end. Oh yeah, I also stream on Twitch. Link below. The end.